Today I will explain to you as easily as possible the latest Apocalyptic Shadow enemies. And let's start with Shadow Reaver. And the first easy tip I have for you is that I recommend you to have a healer in your team. And the reason why I recommend you to have a healer in your team is because of this corrosion thing right here that every ally of mine has here. And Ron may like atomic. And the thing with this corrosion is that when you heal this corrosion back, so let's say my Fuswan casts her ult and everyone heals a little bit of their HP, so all the corrosion is gone. What you will get is a damage bonus buff for your next attack. And this damage bonus buff for your next attack is always appreciated, of course. It will make your run a little bit more smooth. And so having a healer in your team will make it easier to heal all that corrosion back more consistently. But let me answer the first question for you. That's that, of course, you might ask, how do I get this red HP corrosion thing to begin with? Let's go to some attacks of Flame Reaver and his clones. It is something you will see happen here and there on your HP bar. Just know that when you see transparent HP, make sure you heal that back. And having a healer is not the only way to heal this red HP thing back, since you can also heal it back when you attack enemies. And the more enemies you attack, the more of that red HP you heal back. But like I said, having a healer will make it a bit more consistent getting that red HP healed to the max. And of course, Fuswant isn't a healer actually, she's more like a damage negator. But still, my allies won't get that much red HP because Fuswan tanks that damage for them, and I have very fast with an energy rope, so she can ult a bit more consistent than normal. Alright then, now we know that, we should also know this. This is the first thing you will see when you fight against Flame Reaver. And as you can see, he has two toughnesses. If you get rid of the first toughness of his, you will go to the other part of this fight. But getting rid of this first layer of toughness is quite easy, luckily for us, because when you kill a clone, then Shadow Reaver will lose like 25% of his toughness. So if you kill just 4 clones on the field, then you will immediately go to the next part of the fight, which looks like this. But of course, just killing 3 summons might also be enough, since you also attack Flame Reaver if you do AoE attacks. So maybe just killing 2 or 3 is more than enough to get you to the other part of the fight. But alright then, we are in the other part of the fight, and the most important thing you need to know about this part is that you want to kill the summon who has this lock thing on their head with your DPS. And the reason for that is this. When this summon dies, the ally of yours that killed that summon will get an extra turn. And on top of that, you will gain a damage bonus, which is like 50% for 1 turn. And the nice thing is that this special summon with this thing on his head will spawn like every 2 summons the Shadow Reaver summons. Since every time you kill a summon, another one will spawn in his place, and every 2 of that, this guy right here will spawn. But all you need to remember is that when you see this type of summon, make sure you kill him with your DPS to make this run easier for yourself. Since I don't want to accidentally kill him with my Fei Xiao ult. Since you need to know that this summon has less HP compared to the other summons on the field. So he's squishier, so you can kill him easier. So do be mindful of that, don't accidentally kill him with your raw Mei basic attack, for example. But alright then, apart from this special summon on the field, what else is special in this part of the fight, since we know we came from this part of the fight where he had 2 toughnesses, and if you shred this toughness you will go to this part of the fight. And one thing to notice that when you go to this part of the fight, Flame Reaver will cleanse all his crowd control debuffs he has on him. So if he was like imprisoned or entangled or whatever, he will just cleanse all of that and he will start anew here. And the only way for him to get imprisoned is like if you ran a wealth team. Not that you would, because no one has imaginary weakness, but still, he will CC cleanse himself, Flame Reaver here. And so, the special thing about this part of the fight is that Flame Reaver has these stacks right here. And all you need to know is this about stacks. The more of these stacks he has, the more damage Flame Reaver will do when he gets a turn. That's it. So more stacks is more damage. So then the question arises, how can we make sure we remove these stacks then? Well, that's quite simple. When you kill any summon on the field, Flame Reaver will lose 1 stack. That's it. But there's also another special thing, and that is that when you kill a summon who is not the special summon with the lock thing on his head, when you kill a normal summon, yes, he will also lose 1 stack, but Flame Reaver will also lose like 10% of his toughness, which is not the case when you kill the special summon, which is quite a shame, but still I get it, since he spawns like every 2 summons and he is way more squishy, so you can weakness break Flame way easier that way. So they make it more difficult for us by not reducing Flame Reaver's toughness when we kill the special summon. But it's no biggie. If you just do your consistent AoE or blast attacks, you will be all fine. These tankier summons on the sidelines will die and reduce Flame Reaver's toughness that way, since you cannot target Flame Reaver directly when he is in this phase. Oh, and before I forget it, one thing to note about this special summon is that if you don't manage to kill him before his turn and he attacks you, when he does that, he will disappear from the field. So he will miss that extra turn for your DPS and the damage bonus. But on top of that, Flame Reaver will get 1 stack, which is not something you want to happen, since it will make surviving a bit more difficult for you. But this extra stack for Flame Reaver is not the biggest problem, like we know, because you want to get that extra turn and damage bonus. So I really want to emphasize again, make sure you kill this special summon with your DPS. And that's the only really special thing about this fight against Flame Reaver. In his second phase, like, he goes into this charging state as well, which is like almost the same as with the first phase. But here he is looking a bit more menacing and he starts with like more stacks. That's it. But the same things apply. Make sure you kill the Flame Reaver with the lock thing on his head with your DPS. That's it. That's all you need to know about this Flame Reaver fight. So now let's get to the other fight of this Apocalyptic Shadow, and that's against this dragon thing. The first thing that you might notice about this fight is that everyone in your team has or the imaginary or the quantum thing on their head. And then, as the battle shows, you want to attack the enemy who has the corresponding type on their head, and when you do that, when you attack that enemy, then that ally will lose that corresponding weakness type thing on their head. So as you can see, March 7 has this quantum thing on her head, and it shows that if you attack this enemy, that this one will be gone as a result. And we see that the other arm doesn't have the quantum thing on their head, only the left one has it. So if it was to turn off, for example, let's say Fei Xiao now, then this won't be highlighted, but this thing right here would be highlighted with the imaginary thing. So I would need to attack that arm to remove Fei Xiao's thing on her head. But why do I want to remove these things on her head? Well, that is because if you have the quantum and the imaginary thing on your head at the same time, then they will be immediately removed from your head. But as a result, you will take some damage, but the worst thing is there is a chance that your action will be immediately delayed. And on top of that, you cannot do anything until the start of your next turn. So it will look something like this. As you can see, my March 7th and Fei Xiao, they both had the quantum and imaginary thing on their head. They both got their action delayed and cannot do anything for a whole turn now. If this happens to an important character specifically, like my DPSs, then I just recommend you to restart, because the damage would have already been done. Your action would have already been delayed. So even if I cleansed this thing with my Gallagher skill, well, my Fei Xiao and March 7th, their action would have already been delayed. Sure, sometimes you can afford it here and there, but to make your run a bit more smooth, I just recommend you restart it. So how do we play around this imaginary and quantum thing on our head? Well, like we know, if we attack the enemy with the corresponding icon, we can dispel the thing on our head. But we can also just cleanse it if we had a consistent cleansing sustainer, like a Hyacinth or Ho-Ho. Or we can try to play around it. So that would be how. Well, to play around it, we need to know, how do we get these things on our head to begin with? Well, first of all, the second turn of this thing in the middle will apply to all of your allies a quantum or imaginary thing on your head. So before this turn, you need to make sure that no important ally of yours has anything on their head. Since if only, let's say, my Fei Xiao had something on her head and this thing gets a turn, then that thing will apply to all my allies a quantum or imaginary thing, but it will prioritize, if someone already has something on their head, the other type. So I know that if I cannot manage to cleanse the imaginary thing on my Fei Xiao's head and this thing gets a turn, I know that he will apply the quantum thing on my head. Then my Fei Xiao, her action will be delayed and she cannot do anything for a turn. So before that, I want to make sure I attack the corresponding arm, which would be this one. But this is not the only way that the enemy can apply an imaginary or quantum thing on our head. There's also another way, and that is when you see an enemy, so I mean the left or the right arm, glowing, that means they can apply imaginary or quantum on your head. This arm on the left can only apply imaginary on you if it is glowing yellow. If you see this thing glowing, then you know that in his next turn, so that would be here, that his attack will apply imaginary to one or like 3 of your allies. It depends on what kind of attack he does. If you see this arm glowing blue, which is the case now, he is glowing blue, then you know that when he gets a turn, that attack will apply to some of your allies the quantum thing on your head. And there is also another thing you need to note, and that's that if you have killed either one of the arms, they can respawn though. And to know when they will respawn, you can just see it in the action bar. As you can see, the right arm is dead, so he will respawn when he gets a turn. But he's quite slow, so it will take quite some time. So you want to make sure that you kill everyone on the field as fast as possible before it respawns. Since if you kill everyone on the field, then the main enemy, its toughness will be reduced to 0 immediately. There's no other way to remove its toughness. And the way you want to maneuver who to kill when is that it is recommended to kill the arms first and as last the thing in the middle. Because as you might notice, he doesn't have a weakness when you start the battle. And to get that weakness on the thing in the middle is by killing an arm. Then all the weakness of that arm will be transferred to the thing in the middle. That's it. And the nice thing is though, that the more weakness types an enemy has, so this thing in the middle, the more damage he will take. So that's why your run will go easier if you kill the thing in the middle as last. So you can do more damage to it. And you might have noticed that when you kill an arm, like in this situation, I now have killed the arm, which if I attacked him would remove my imaginary thing on my head. But he's dead. So how do I remove the imaginary thing on my head? Well, then I need to attack the one in the middle, as it is implied here. So normally I need to attack the arm on the right to remove the imaginary thing on my head. But now he is dead. I need to attack the thing in the middle. But the game just easily indicates that. So that's no worry. So the takeaway for this fight is just attack the enemies whose head are glowing like this, just like the ally whose turn it is to remove the thing on your head. Because if you don't, it actually will be delayed immediately. So even if you cleanse it, damage has already been done. That's it. But you can also like basically ignore all these mechanics if you like, for example, play Pinon, because he one-shots everyone and he is crowd control immune. So you cannot get harmed that much when you get the imaginary encounter thing on your head. So just play with whoever you want. But do remember this though, you can play with High Silence in this Apocalyptic Shadow because she's expected to be released on the 13th of August, and the last day of this Apocalyptic Shadow will be on the 17th of August. But if you're like, I'm still unsure whether I want someone for her or not, well then you can wait for the 29th of July because the 3.6 marketing is to be expected by then. So you can plan around your Jades a bit better for who you really want someone or not. But if you're like, well, I still don't know what High Silence does, well, on the 1st of August, the 3.5 live streams to be expected, where they will go into the kits of High Silence and the Seridra. But of course, there will also be reruns, like for example on the 23rd of July and on the 11th of July. The Fate collab will be with a free archer. My point is basically, you still got a lot of time to clear Apocalyptic Shadow. There will be many characters on the way and many events. You will get many resources to build up your characters better if you cannot get all the rewards. So just take your time. There is no haste. I thank you for paying attention and see you the next time. Bye.